Gordon Allport's Trait Theory, prepared by a little background on Gordon Allport. He was born in 1897. He received his PhD in psychology in 1922 from Harvard University. He spent his career expanding his theory by investigating social issues and developing personality tests. So, let's begin. Allport believes that traits are fundamentally unique to each individual. Hence, traits are concrete, easily recognized, and are consistent. Traits occur on a spectrum, which means an individual doesn't just have one trait, but many, with some more obvious than the other. In short, traits are meaningful differences between persons. Allport has divided his notion of traits into three types of traits, namely central traits, secondary traits, and cardinal traits. Number 1. Cardinal traits are traits or dispositions, as Allport prefers to call it, are pronounced traits that are central to an individual in a way that it is so dominant that it cannot be concealed. Allport affirmed that most people do not have a cardinal trait because relatively few persons develop it, which, even if they do, would happen only in the later part of their lives. People with cardinal traits are often those influential historical figures, such as Machiavelli, Karl Marx, and Hitler, who are the embodiment of political ruthlessness. Marquis de Sade, who was famous for his libertine sexuality, and Ebenezer Scrooge, who's the epitome of a penny pincher. Number 2. Central traits are less visible, but still undeniably significant to an individual in a way that it is considered the cornerstone to a person's personality. Imagine when you are asked to describe your mom, for example. You'll probably come up with a few adjectives to depict her, such as strong, level-headed, independent, reliable, and witty. These are essentially what you would consider as central traits. It is important to know that central traits are traits that can be found to a certain degree in almost everyone. According to Allport, most people have between 5 to 10 of these traits. Number 3. Secondary traits are traits that are least apparent and least consistent in a person, which means they can only be seen in certain situations. In short, you can say that secondary traits are situational traits found in every individual. Let's give an example. Sarah's mother, who's extremely dear to her, just passed away, and she couldn't cope with the loss, so she might be temperamental and volatile during this period. Another example would be being impatient while waiting in a long line. Other than that, secondary traits are also preferences or inclinations, whereby a person might only like eating outside at fast food chains as opposed to family restaurants, for example. So these are what Allport considers as secondary traits. Another category of Allport's trait theory, although less highlighted, are common traits, traits that are shared by people of the same cultural background, that are recognized in that particular culture and are given names, but are not found in another culture, as traits rely on language. The closest example that I could give for this is melatah. This melatah culture, for the lack of a better word, is, as far as I'm concerned, only dominant in the Malay culture. Perhaps someone could share with us another example of common traits?